Sperm. It's the tastiest, most nutritional drink ever, right? Well, according to the video that I'm responding to, it is. So in that case, cheers. So good. Now, I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's because I'm responding to the most ridiculous video ever where this Muslim guy thought that it would be a great point to say that if you're an atheist, you have no morality and therefore would drink sperm from your father.
Sorry, I'm a bit confused. Why on earth do you look so grossed out for? On atheism, there's nothing wrong with drinking your dad's sperm.
On atheism, there's nothing wrong with drinking your dad's sperm. I mean, do you really need someone to tell you not to do certain things? I mean, if you found out right now for certain that there is no God and that your religion is total bullshit and you had factual evidence of this, would you go and drink your dad's sperm? And also, who puts their sperm in a water bottle and then puts it in the fridge? Like, I mean, he had to think of this. I make this argument all the time whenever I'm debating religious people, mostly Christians, and I say, if you found out that there was no God, tomorrow would you go around and rape people and murder people? Would your morality just completely fly out the window if you knew that it was generated from things outside of religion? Come on, do I really have to explain this? This is so ridiculous. I just don't get it.
You don't believe me? Look, let's break it down. There is no consequences, morally speaking, according to you guys, because it's not harming anyone and there's no risk. And secondly speaking, sperm's got nutritional value. So go drink your dad's sperm, man. What are you waiting for?
I'm not sure if he's realized this, but you don't have to have incestual relations to get that nutritional value, just saying.
But you're not going to, are you? But why? I can understand how you're quite confused right now because your worldview should make you feel comfortable with drinking sperm. But hold up, you feel like, that's gross, I don't want to drink my dad's sperm. Then could there be something wrong with your worldview?
No, there's actually nothing wrong with my worldview because I don't want to drink sperm from people in my family. There's nothing wrong with that, and there are several reasons why we would come to that conclusion, none of which include religion. And I'm sorry, but I haven't found the verse in the Bible or passage in the Quran where it specifically says drinking sperm is some horrible thing to do. But if you really need religion to tell you not to do certain things like this, I think it's probably your worldview that needs questioning.
Okay, so we have morals. We have good, we have bad. We have what we ought to do, we have what we ought not to do. Where did our morals come from? They didn't come from nothing, did they?
No, they didn't. There's actually a lot of things that go into the reason why people have the moralities that they do. But if you're going to question how things can come from nothing, then maybe you should start with God.
Because look, we're smart now. We're not going to behave stupid anymore. We're going to appreciate that things don't come from nothing.
Yeah, except for God.
Okay, good. So at least we're on the same wavelength. Okay. What are the explanations that atheists used to give for where our morals came from? Number one, evolution.
Okay, this is something that I hear all the time. People think that evolution is some kind of moral system. Evolution is not a way of life. Evolution is a biological process that happens. It's a scientific theory. It really doesn't have a lot to do with morality, but I do think that it does play a role in shaping the morality that we have evolved to have. Which can also explain why we wouldn't look favorably upon incestual relations, because whenever two people in the same family procreate, there tend to be genetic problems with their offspring. So over time, people will probably develop tendencies to, I don't know, not drink their dad's sperm. To be clear, evolution is not a moral system. It's a biological process. It's a scientific theory. It does help shape who we are, but it is not like a code of conduct to live by. But it does so happen that if you live in a society where people aren't always killing each other, you might tend to, I don't know, live longer as a species, hence being a beneficial trait that could be passed on through evolution, but that's a concept that is probably too complex for you to understand because
using our brains a teeny tiny bit.
Okay, I admittedly maybe took that clip out of context a little bit, but that's the only way I could find to have it make any sense.
It forcefully copulates. In other words, it rapes. If our morals come from the exact same sociological, biological process that facilitates those morals for that white nurse shark, then what makes us so special that when we rape, it's wrong? No. If that's where our morals come from, rape, murder, theft, all these things, at the most you could say are socially unconventional.
Oh my god, this guy is so annoying. I'm sorry, but he's just so passionate about it. It's really over dramatic and obviously put on. What frustrates me the most about this is he's doing this video to promote Islam, which is a religion that has in the Quran permission to rape people. If you're gonna sit there and talk about women's rights, I don't think you should do so on behalf of Islam, because if you look around the world, most Islamic countries are, I don't know, just a little bit prejudiced against women. But I have to be politically correct here and say not all countries that are Islamic are just terrible, but most of them are, to some degree. Obviously some worse than others, but most of them have an issue with women's rights. And in a lot of countries, whenever a woman is sentenced to death, if she's still a virgin, they're not allowed to murder a virgin. So what do? They rape her first so that they can then kill her. But this guy has the nerve to sit there and say that atheists are the ones who are unable to provide any kind of moral stance for not raping and killing, whenever it is so common to happen from people who practice Islam. I think that you should be a little bit more introspective here.
We believe things are good and bad, morally speaking, on the basis of what society tells us.
Morality is based mostly off of social norms. I mean, Muhammad married a 9-year-old girl. Whenever I have debates with people who are Muslim, a lot of times they will come back with the defense saying that during that time it was normal. During that time it was socially acceptable, and that in today's standards no one would do that anymore because now it's not okay anymore. Now it's not socially acceptable. So it looks like people who are religious and people who are not religious are both pretty much basing their morality off of today's societal standards. And I think that this is a reason why people aren't more offended by religion when they should be, because they don't see how secular morality is infiltrating them and actually taking over. They're not following their holy books literally, because if they were, they would end up in jail. But this is somehow always missed. This is somehow never taken into consideration. And then they look down on people who admittedly use secular morality like we don't have any morals. It's totally asinine. If you look at the facts, look at countries who aren't religious. They have way fewer numbers in cases of rape and murder without religion.
But if that's the case, then that means you have to accept that when Hitler and his Nazis were doing what they were doing to the Jews, in other words, putting them in concentration camps, gas chambers with Zyklon B, when they were doing that at the time because social pressure made them feel that it was the norm, morally speaking, it was the thing that they ought to do, that means you have to admit that at the time there was nothing wrong with what Hitler was doing.
When people use the Hitler example, I get really frustrated right away because it's just such a weak argument. I mean, if you're really gonna say that what Hitler did was fine because at the time everybody thought it was a-okay, well, that's just flat out wrong because a lot of the world had a problem with it, hence World War II. But if you're really gonna go with this logic, then you might want to look at your own religion for a second, because a lot of Islamic countries, like I said before, rape virgin girls so that they can later on be murdered. Do you think that this is okay? I mean, it's obviously going on in a lot of places, so it's socially acceptable, therefore you should think that the morality is just fine. Not to mention, it's talked about in the Quran like there's nothing wrong with it. But obviously you don't, because earlier you said rape is not okay. All I'm saying here is that it's incredibly frustrating for you to sit here and criticize the morality of atheists whenever you're not even looking at the problems going on within your own religion. No, I'm not sitting here and saying that every Islamic country does this. No, I'm not saying that every Muslim endorses these types of things, but it happens way too often for you not to be more critical of that than sitting here making a video about how atheists have no morals. It's so hypocritical.
There's nothing wrong with drinking your dad's sperm because the consequences are actually beneficial. There's nutritional value and there's no risk. No one's gonna get harmed. Your dad's basically gonna have a good bash, he's gonna enjoy a nice orgasm, and you're gonna enjoy some nice nutritional value. So the benefits outweigh the losses. So go and drink your dad's sperm.
I don't know how you guys feel, but for me this is just getting weird. It seems like this guy is really very passionate about drinking his dad's sperm. I mean, he put a lot of thought into this. A lot of thought.
That's why Richard Dawkins says, I don't see there to be a problem with things like mild pedophilia. Of course there's a problem.
This is something that I hear all the time, and it's really starting to piss me off, the idea that Richard Dawkins thinks that pedophilia is like a great thing. He doesn't. He gave a personal experience of something that happened to him and said that he wasn't permanently scarred for life by it. That is not him endorsing it. That is not saying that, hey, it's great if you go out there and molest children as long as you do it a little bit. You're taking this out of context. Stop warping the facts to fit your personal agenda. It's really annoying. It's just flat out wrong. But even if it weren't, even if he were the biggest advocate of pedophilia, which he's not, it doesn't reflect on every atheist. He is not the leader of atheism, putting forth the 10 commandments of atheism, where the first commandment is that mild pedophilia is great.
According to Sam Harris's morality, according to Professor Krauss, Richard Dawkins, the leading atheists of the world, according to their morality, there's nothing wrong with you basically lying a 1-year-old baby in front of you and basically masturbating over it. because the baby is not going to remember the traumatic experience because he's only 1 or she's only 1 years old. And you are going to enjoy basically a nice session, very creepy, disgusting, should be put in jail, locked away, slapped in the face. But on your morality as an atheist who rejects God, there's nothing wrong with that.
So I'm just going to go ahead and use the same argument again. If you found out tomorrow that there was no God and that your religion was total bullshit, would you jerk off over a baby? If you say yes, then like I said, you need to look at yourself and figure out what's wrong with you more than sitting there judging a group of atheists, who you know would, by the way, never do that. And on Muhammad's account, having sex with a 9-year-old girl is perfectly fine, so whacking it over a baby definitely seems more Islam than atheist. And to be honest, it's kind of disturbing that you keep coming up with these ridiculously perverted and disgusting scenarios.
But now here's the thing. I know you are decent human beings, right? We're human beings. And I know you find a problem with all the examples that I've given, because you're not weird. We have the same blood running through our veins, the same head, the same brain inside of it, the same consciousness. We have the same morality. So I'm not having a go at you. I'm just trying to make you understand how crude this understanding of the world is from an atheistic perspective.
What? Okay, so you're saying this whole time you were just using a ridiculous example that you don't actually believe is the case to make your argument. That's so what you're saying here is that since we live in the same society where certain things are obviously not socially acceptable across the board, you know that we're not going to do certain things because obviously social norms play nothing into our morality.
So then what is our explanation and understanding of where our morals came from?
Let me guess, the only possible explanation is God.
The only explanation for where our morals came from is that they are grounded and anchored and based and founded upon a higher moral agent that instilled them to us, because society doesn't dictate them.
Yes, it does.
Evolution sure as hell doesn't.
It plays a role.
And consequences of our actions, rational thought process like that sure as hell doesn't.
Wrong again.
The only option we're left is that Allah instilled these morals inside of us from when we were born. I leave you with that.
Ah, there it is. Finally, we have the answer. Not only is it God, it's your version of God.
Accept Allah as your one creator, master of the heavens and the earth. But if you continue to reject that, then please, give your dad a bottle and tell him to have a bash. And you enjoy a nice drink.
Ah yes, have a drink of sperm. Let me make this point again, a point that I've made a billion times, that it's not actually a point because I already admitted that I don't think it's something that you would actually do, but I'm going to say it anyways to try to prove that atheists have no morality, because obviously if it weren't for God, drinking sperm from family members would be something that everyone would be doing. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you at least got a few laughs at the ridiculousness of it all. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Make sure to like this video, share it everywhere. Make sure to check out my website, jacquelineglenn.com, for some Atheist and Logic t-shirts. And again, big thank you to everyone who is my Patreon. You can see information about that in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.